There's something about regret that cuts deeper than any failure ever could. Failure stings in the moment, yes. It knocks us down, it scrapes our knees, it bruises our pride, but regret lingers. It whispers in the quiet hours when no one else is around. It asks us questions we can't answer. What if you had tried? What if you had spoken up? What if you had dared to step forward instead of stepping back? Failure carries lessons. Regret carries silence. Failure may sting in the moment. It may feel heavy on the heart, but it is never empty. It leaves behind pieces of wisdom, fragments of courage, and the reminder that we dared to step into uncertainty. Every time we fail, we are also handed an opportunity to grow. We see what worked and what didn't. We learn more about ourselves, and we build the strength to keep going. Failure is not a dead end. It is a teacher that often disguises itself in disappointment but leaves behind invaluable truth. Regret, on the other hand, is silent. It does not teach, it lingers. It does not leave us with lessons but with questions. It is the quiet voice that asks, what if you had tried? What if you had spoken? What if you had taken that chance? Unlike failure, which eventually becomes a stepping stone, regret becomes a chain that holds us to the past. It is not what happened that hurts, but what never happened at all. It is the life unlived, the words unspoken, the dreams tucked away because fear was louder than courage. When we experience failure, we may fall, but we fall forward. We may bruise, but the bruises heal, and what is left is resilience. The lessons carved by failure often shape the way we approach the future. We come to understand that trying is always better than standing still, that courage matters more than perfection, and that no one arrives at fulfillment without stumbling along the way. Failure reminds us that we were present, that we showed up, that we engaged with the possibilities of life instead of hiding from them. Regret is different. Regret carries silence where there should have been a voice. It is the absence of action, the absence of choice, the absence of courage. It feeds on what we didn't do, and that is a pain much deeper than the sting of failure. For in regret, there is no story, no lesson, no gift hidden in the hardship. There is only a void, a hollow ache that lingers because it is built not on what happened, but on what never had the chance to unfold. To fail is to live, to regret is to remain half alive. Failure can be worn like a scar, evidence that we tried and risked and dared. Regret cannot be worn, it can only be hidden, festering quietly in the background of our lives. And often, the silence of regret becomes heavier with time, while the lessons of failure lighten into wisdom. It is in this understanding that we learn the true weight of each. Failure, though painful, always leaves us richer in experience, while regret leaves us empty. One carries the voice of growth, the other carries the silence of what could have been. And it is that silence, more than any mistake, that becomes the heaviest burden to bear. Failure at least gives us a story. It shows us that we were courageous enough to act, that we had the heart to risk being seen, that we cared enough to lean into uncertainty. When we fail, we learn something. We discover resilience we didn't know we had. We gather wisdom that becomes the foundation for our future. But regret leaves us with nothing but emptiness. It is the heavy silence of the chances we never took, the words we never said, the dreams we quietly buried. Failure gives us a chance to rise again. Regret leaves us stuck in what could have been. When we fail, the immediate feeling is disappointment. It can feel like the world has turned its back on us, like our efforts were wasted and our dreams shattered. Yet hidden beneath that pain is a gift, a chance to stand back up, to gather strength we did not know we had, and to begin again with greater wisdom. Failure does not define us, it refines us. It shapes the edges of our character and teaches us resilience. Every time we fall, we are offered an invitation to rise stronger, to carry the lessons forward, and to continue walking toward what matters. The beauty of failure lies in its movement. It is not a static place, but a moment that pushes us to evolve. We may have to take a different path, change our approach, or rebuild from the ground up. But in doing so, we keep moving. Failure allows us to transform defeat into growth, mistakes into understanding, and setbacks into a deeper determination to try again. There is power in knowing that no matter how many times we fall, we still have the capacity to rise, that rising is proof of courage, proof that we dared, proof that we believed enough to act. Regret is different. Regret does not move, it traps. It is a weight that keeps us frozen in the shadows of missed opportunities. It does not allow us to rise because there was never a fall to begin with. Regret is the untraveled path, the unsaid words, the risks we never took. It whispers of what could have been, but offers no chance to rewrite the ending. Where failure closes one door and urges us to seek another, regret keeps us standing in front of a door we never had the courage to open. The pain of regret is not sharp and sudden like failure. It is slow and enduring, creeping into our thoughts when we wonder how life might have been if only we had been braver. Unlike failure, which pushes us forward, regret holds us still. It feeds on hesitation, on fear, on the choices we avoided, and as time passes, regret grows heavier because the moments we missed cannot return. The opportunity to learn, to rise, to reshape our future is lost before it could even begin. This is why failure, as painful as it may feel in the moment, is always a better companion than regret. With failure, there is still hope. There is still a chance to rebuild, to rise, to walk forward with scars that remind us we lived fully. With regret, there is only stillness, a haunting reminder of a life unlived. Rising again after failure is a triumph of the spirit, but being stuck in regret is a prison with no key. The truth is, failure is proof of life. It is proof that we showed up, that we participated, that we risked our hearts in a world that offers no guarantees. Regret, however, is proof that we held back, that we hid, that we allowed fear to dictate the story of our lives. And that is far more painful than any stumble or misstep. Failure may bruise the ego, but regret breaks the heart. When we fail, we feel the sting of disappointment. Our pride takes a hit, our confidence shakes, and our plans crumble before our eyes. It is not easy to stumble when we had hoped to soar. Yet as painful as failure may feel, it is still survivable. The ego can heal. We can regain our footing, rebuild our confidence, and gather the courage to try again. Failure is a momentary wound, but it does not have to define the story of our lives. Regret, however, carries a deeper weight. It is not just a bruise on the surface, it is a fracture of the heart. Regret is the silent ache of knowing we never gave ourselves the chance to discover what might have been. It is the heaviness of unspoken words, the emptiness of dreams we never pursued, the stillness of courage that never found its voice. Unlike failure, which offers us a lesson and a path to rise again, regret offers nothing but longing. It is the pain of inaction, the sorrow of choices we avoided, and the emptiness of opportunities left behind. Failure, for all its discomfort, at least reminds us that we tried. We stepped into the arena, we risked, we put something on the line. That act of trying, even when it ends in loss, strengthens our spirit. We may walk away with scars, but those scars carry stories of bravery. They remind us that we had the courage to show up when the outcome was uncertain. Failure may humble us, but it also shapes us into stronger, wiser, and more resilient human beings. Regret carries no such gift. It is not a story of trying and falling, but of never stepping forward at all. It breaks the heart because it leaves us with nothing but questions, questions that cannot be answered. What if we had spoken? What if we had risked more? What if we had trusted ourselves enough to try? These questions echo endlessly, not because we lacked ability, but because we lacked action. That silence, that void, becomes heavier with time, and unlike the ego's bruises, the heart struggles to mend from a life unlived. The truth is, the ego recovers. A failure may embarrass us or shake our pride, but eventually it fades into wisdom. What remains is the knowledge that we were willing to take a chance. The heart, however, does not forget regret so easily. It remembers what never was, and it carries the ache of possibilities lost forever. So while failure may cause temporary pain, regret becomes a lasting sorrow. A bruised ego can heal, but a broken heart remembers. And in the end, it is not the failures we carry with the most weight, but the regrets of the chances we never allowed ourselves to take. When we fail, we can still move forward. We can still rebuild, redefine, and try again. But regret keeps us frozen, locked in a loop of wondering about the life that might have been if only we had been braver. The pain of regret does not fade easily because it is not about what happened. It is about what never happened at all. Failure reminds us we were brave enough to try. Regret reminds us we stayed small. Failure, no matter how much it hurts in the moment, is evidence of courage. It shows that we stepped beyond the comfort of certainty and into the unknown. It proves that we cared enough to take a chance, to risk the possibility of falling for the possibility of growth. Every failure is a reminder that we dared to show up, that we believed enough in ourselves or our dream to take action. That kind of bravery is not erased by falling short. It is highlighted by it. Regret, on the other hand, is the opposite of bravery. It reveals the moments when fear was louder than courage, when we chose safety over possibility, when we stayed small instead of reaching for more. Regret is not born from trying and failing. It is born from hiding and holding back. And this is why it feels heavier than failure. Where failure leaves us with lessons and stories of resilience, regret leaves us with silence and questions that echo long after the moment has passed. To fail is to live fully, even if the outcome is not what we hoped for. It keeps us connected to the raw truth of being human, where mistakes and missteps are part of the path. When we look back on failure, we can often find a kind of gratitude because it shaped us, strengthened us, and taught us to rise again. Failure becomes a part of our journey forward, a reminder that courage was present, even if success was not. But regret brings no such gift. Regret keeps us tied to the life we did not live, the opportunities we let slip away, the words we swallowed instead of speaking. It is the evidence not of courage, but of avoidance. It does not remind us of bravery, but of the moments we shrank when we could have expanded. Staying small might feel safe in the moment, but over time it becomes a weight on the heart. The safety we chose turns into restlessness, into longing, into the quiet pain of wondering what might have been if only we had stepped forward. Failure asks us to rise again. It challenges us to grow, to shift, to try differently. It humbles us, yes, but it also strengthens the muscle of resilience. Regret offers no such challenge, only the dull ache of possibility never pursued. Failure shows us we are capable of standing back up, while regret convinces us we never stood at all. The truth is, a life marked by failure is still a life of courage, but a life marked by regret is a life lived half-heartedly. To fail means we dared to live, to regret means we chose to remain small. And between the two, it is always better to have the scars of trying than the emptiness of never having tried at all. So the choice before us is simple but not easy. Will we risk failure and gain the gift of growth, or will we avoid risk and inherit the weight of regret? When you look back years from now, will you want to remember the falls and the lessons, or the safety of never trying at all? Failure builds resilience, regret builds self-doubt. When we fail, the initial sting can feel sharp and heavy, shaking our confidence and leaving us questioning our choices. Yet beneath that discomfort lies a seed of strength. Each failure is an invitation to rise, to adapt, to discover that we are far more capable than we once believed. Resilience is born from these moments, the courage to stand back up, the willingness to try again, and the understanding that setbacks do not mean the end, but the beginning of something wiser. Failure becomes a training ground for endurance, patience, and growth. It teaches us to bend without breaking, to keep moving forward even when the path is steep, and to trust that every stumble is shaping us into someone stronger. Regret, however, tells a different story. It does not challenge us to rise. It leaves us questioning why we never acted in the first place. Instead of building resilience, it builds layers of self-doubt. Regret whispers that we were not enough, that we were too afraid, too uncertain, or too unwilling to step into the unknown. And like failure, which gives us proof of courage, regret gives us evidence of avoidance. And over time, that avoidance becomes a breeding ground for doubt. We begin to wonder if we will ever be brave enough, if we are capable of more, or if we are destined to remain small. The difference is striking. Failure hands us scars that eventually become symbols of strength. Regret hands us emptiness that eats away at our confidence. When we fail, we learn that pain can be endured and even transformed into wisdom. But when we regret, we carry the weight of what was never even attempted. That weight grows heavier with time, leaving us not only disappointed in the moment we missed, but doubtful of our ability to act in the future. Resilience is not built in comfort. It is built in the struggle, in the moments when we fall and choose to rise again. Failure offers these opportunities in abundance. It tests us, stretches us, and forces us to find new ways forward. Every time we recover from a setback, our resilience deepens. We become more resourceful, more patient, more attuned to the truth that strength is not the absence of hardship, but the ability to endure it. Regret offers no such resilience. It builds walls of hesitation, convincing us that we are too fragile to risk the unknown. Self-doubt grows where courage was withheld, and with it comes a shrinking of the spirit. Where failure expands our capacity to try again, regret contracts our belief in ourselves. It is the slow erosion of trust in our own strength. In the end, failure may leave bruises, but it also leaves us stronger. Regret may seem easier in the moment, but it quietly undermines our confidence and leaves us questioning our worth. Resilience rises from the ashes of failure, while self-doubt grows in the silence of regret. And it is always better to rise, however imperfectly, than to remain forever doubting what we might have been. Failure hurts for a moment, but regret can last a lifetime. And when we truly understand that, we realize that the only way forward is to try, to risk, to step into the arena. Because no scar from failure will ever wound us as deeply as the ache of never having dared. Failure is a stepping stone, regret is a cage. Failure, though painful in the moment, always holds within it the possibility of movement. It may knock us down, bruise our pride, and challenge our confidence, but it also points us toward growth. Each failure is a lesson carved into the journey, showing us what doesn't work and guiding us toward what might. It keeps us moving, forcing us to adjust, to adapt, and to try again with greater wisdom. In this way, failure is not the end but the ground beneath our feet, a stepping stone that helps us cross from who we are today to who we are becoming. The gift of failure is that it carries motion. Even when it hurts, it propels us forward. It humbles us, but also strengthens us, teaching us resilience, creativity, and perseverance. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has walked on these stones. They stumbled, they fell, they tried again, and each misstep became part of the bridge that carried them closer to their vision. Failure reminds us that we are alive, that we are daring, and that we are willing to risk the discomfort of falling for the possibility of rising. Regret is different. Regret does not move us forward, it traps us. It is the cage of what could have been, a prison built not from action but from inaction. Where failure at least gives us experience to learn from, regret leaves us with nothing but longing. It keeps us circling the same questions. What if I had tried? What if I had spoken? What if I had dared? These questions echo endlessly, but they bring no answers because the opportunity has already passed. Unlike failure, which allows us to stand up and try again, regret locks us inside the memory of choices we never made. The weight of regret grows heavier with time. It is not sharp like the sting of failure. It is dull and constant, a slow ache that lingers in the heart. It convinces us that we missed our chance, that we chose safety over courage, and that we settled for less than what we were capable of. Regret does not teach resilience. It teaches hesitation. It does not build strength. It erodes belief in ourselves. It is a cage we build with our own hands, one bar at a time, every time we let fear silence us or keep us from acting. Failure may hurt, but it liberates. It frees us to learn, to adapt, to rise again with greater clarity. It opens doors we never knew existed by forcing us to move differently, to think differently, to be different. Regret only closes doors, leaving us staring at possibilities we never reached for. Failure is a step forward, even if it feels like falling. Regret is standing still, locked in a cage of our own hesitation. And the truth is, we can always rise from failure, but regret holds us until we decide to set ourselves free.